Well, there is some breaking entertainment news this morning. It's been revealed Kylie Minogue had a second cancer diagnosis in 2021. In the Star's new Netflix documentary, Minogue says she got through it again.
Marred by heavy heartbreak, grueling setbacks and struggles few people actually understand. Now at 57, fans are finally looking back at the secret tragedies that shaped her life and left permanent marks. So what really happened to Kylie Minogue? What makes things so heartbreaking? A life rewritten twice by a battle with cancer. Within her recent documentary, Kylie Minogue, now 57, is no longer just reflecting on a career defined by fame and massive music hits. She is also confronting something far more personal. It is about survival grit and the hidden tax of living with illness while the entire world keeps watching from the sidelines. According to her, back in 2021, she faced a second cancer diagnosis, but chose to keep it private, carrying the burden entirely alone. There were no press releases, no headlines, and absolutely no wave of public sympathy. Just a silence surrounding a terrifying struggle that was happening behind closed doors. She described those months as emotionally draining, saying the weight of public life felt suffocating while she was desperately trying to protect both her health and her peace of mind. As her career kept moving forward, she was quietly navigating a private health crisis that almost nobody knew about. Years later, she finally decided to open up, not to hunt for pity, but to share her truth. She explained that cancer is not something that just vanishes once the treatment stops. It stays with you in unexpected ways. In her words, it never truly leaves her. That realization became a vital message she wanted the entire world to understand. This reveal adds another layer to her legacy, reminding us all that behind the fame, there is a human being who faced raw fear, total uncertainty, and recovery in absolute silence. Fame does not shield anyone from life's toughest battles, and even the brightest stars on earth can endure their darkest nights far away from the cameras. Her story, featured in the documentary, is not just about despair. It is about pure courage, the value of privacy, and the strength required to keep going. Now, as she reflects at 57, she does it with total honesty and vulnerability, hoping her own experience helps others feel less alone in their personal fights. Her journey resonates with fans globally, not because it is perfect, but because it is real, human, and defined by moments of grit mixed with vulnerability. It acts as a powerful reminder that behind every global pop icon is a private, unspoken story of endurance. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones fought in silence, where sheer courage keeps you moving forward, molding the person you become. Her voice now carries both pain and peace, reflecting a life that has been tested. At 57, Kylie Minogue revealed she privately battled cancer again in 2021, choosing to hide it from the world. Was this her first experience with the illness? If not, could her earlier battle have shaped how she handled this round, leading her to stay silent? Let's reveal the hidden details. A life-changing cancer fight. Kylie Minogue's first diagnosis in 2005 arrived at the peak of her global success and changed her world in a heartbeat. At 36, she was living what appeared to be a dream life, performing for massive sold-out crowds, touring the world, and standing as one of pop music's undisputed brightest stars. But then, that life hit a wall. She had to cancel her entire tour and leave the stage to begin aggressive chemotherapy, focusing solely on simple survival and healing. The shift was jarring and very public. One minute she was under bright stage lights, dancing for thousands of fans, and the next she was completely out of sight, away from the music and fighting for her life. The news traveled fast, and the world watched with genuine worry as a global superstar vanished from the spotlight she once owned. Everything slowed down for her. That whirlwind of performances and noise finally hit the brakes. Interviews and constant travel vanished, replaced by endless hospital visits, strict treatment schedules, and brutal recovery days. It was a terrifying, painful stretch of time, balanced between deep fear and a tiny flicker of hope. Yet, in that heavy silence, she held tight to the belief she would make it to the other side. When she finally stepped back into the spotlight, she wasn't the same woman who had left. She returned with newfound power, but also a raw understanding of how quickly life can flip. Fame and success didn't feel so invincible anymore. Instead, she carried a quiet, constant awareness that health and life itself can shift in a heartbeat. Even after the recovery, that chapter never truly left her. It lived on in the way she thought, the way she handled her career, and the deep value she placed on every single day. It forged her into someone more grounded, deeply thoughtful, and aware of how fragile life really is. Her return wasn't just a comeback in pop music. It was the return of a woman who stared fear down, survived, and learned to live with a profound, aching gratitude for every single moment she was granted. That entire ordeal completely reshaped how she sees the world. She started cherishing the small things that once seemed ordinary, like peaceful mornings, precious time with her loved ones, and the simple gift of being able to create music again. No day was ever taken for granted. The experience also pushed her to speak openly about health battles, knowing so many others endure these struggles in total silence. It wasn't just about beating cancer. It was about learning how to live again with real patience, immense courage, and deep respect for the journey. Kylie's initial cancer diagnosis arrived at age 36, right at her career peak, forcing her to dive into chemotherapy right away. But what other hidden painful struggles did she face during those dark months? And how difficult was it for her to keep moving forward with the heavy burden she was carrying? Now let's explore the emotional song born from a dream, Motherhood. The heartbreaking IVF struggle. After surviving that first battle with cancer, Kylie Minogue entered another deeply personal chapter, one that was kept far more private but just as agonizing. She longed to be a mother, a dream kept safe in her heart even, while she fought to rebuild her health and her career. To chase that dream, she underwent IVF treatments, clinging tightly to the hope that life might still grant her the gift of motherhood. But behind that hope hid a difficult, painful reality. At one point, Kylie made the courageous decision to delay starting her chemotherapy so she could attempt IVF first. It was a heartbreaking choice made when she refused to give up on the possibility of having a child without exhausting every single option. She later described it as a fragile, yet powerful thread of hope that anchored her during such a chaotic, uncertain time. Despite several tries, the treatment didn't lead to the outcome she had prayed for. The result brought deep, lingering sadness, and she had to slowly come to terms with a future that wouldn't include biological motherhood. Her sister, Danny Minogue, later opened up about how emotional that period was, noting that motherhood and nurturing were traits that came so naturally to Kylie, making that specific loss even more devastating. From that quiet, profound grief came one of her most moving artistic statements, her song, Flower. Many fans believe it captures the complex feelings she couldn't easily put into spoken words. A message of love loss and ultimate acceptance aimed at the child she never got to have. The song stands as a lasting symbol of healing, blending deep sadness and peace all at once. This experience also fundamentally changed how Kylie viewed life, love, and time. She began speaking more openly about how agonizing it feels when dreams fall apart, especially dreams that touch the deepest parts of your heart. Even as she pushed ahead in her career and continued to inspire millions through her iconic music, the memory of that journey never faded. It turned her into someone much more gentle with herself and everyone else. Someone who finally understood that not every hope is meant to finish the way we picture it. Over time, she found real strength in acceptance rather than resistance, finally learning how to. She carries gratitude and sorrow in equal measure. Her journey continues to resonate with so many people. For those facing similar struggles, she proves that even within deep loss, beauty and love still remain. That love never truly fades. In her quiet truth, Kylie inspires others, showing that real healing is not about forgetting the pain, but rather learning to live with it gently. Beyond delaying chemotherapy for fertility, treatments, which did not grant the motherhood she desperately wanted, what other heartbreak did she endure on her path? Did she lose someone truly vital to her? If so, how deeply did that loss cut? Let us peel back those painful layers. That first grief that never faded, long before her illness and the struggle for motherhood. The emotional world of Kylie Minogue had already been fundamentally shaped by a singular relationship, one that would stay etched in her heart for the rest of her life. She often reflects on Michael Hutchence calling him her first true love, but also the person who introduced her to real heartbreak. What started as an electric bright connection in her youth gradually evolved into a memory woven with both warmth and sharp pain. She has shared that being with him made her feel genuinely seen for the first time. It was a bond that cracked her heart wide open, helping her grasp emotions she had never fully navigated before. In his presence, she felt a sense of discovery, as if she were stepping into a vibrant new world of intensity and raw honesty. But that same intense connection made the eventual loss almost impossible to bear. When Michael Hutchence passed in 1997, everything shifted for her. The news did not just signify the end of a relationship. It marked her first real encounter with grief in its darkest, deepest form. The love story that once brought her immense joy and growth was suddenly tied to lingering sadness and haunting questions. It left a permanent scar on her soul, one she has never fully walked away from. Although their time together was brief, the emotional aftershocks lasted for decades. Kylie has spoken often through heavy silence about the sheer difficulty of looking back at those years. In the documentary, these memories are not presented as mere tabloid fodder or empty celebrity curiosity, but as a profoundly human experience that defined her perspective on love, identity, and personal loss. She has admitted that even all these years later, speaking of him can still trigger a wave of raw emotion. It is not just about remembering the man, but about remembering the version of herself that existed during that time. A young woman discovering both the highs of love and the depths of heartbreak simultaneously. That emotional chapter became a part of her foundation, shaping how she approached every future relationship. In many ways, this early ordeal steeled her for the massive emotional challenges that would follow later in her life. It taught her that love is beautiful but fragile, and that grief can sit quietly with a person for a lifetime. She carries these memories gently, not as a heavy burden, but as a part of her growth, defining her compassion and how she understands love and loss in a truly deeper human sense. Kylie lost that first great love, leaving her completely shattered, but did something from her past later resurface? Was it something worth celebrating, or did its return trigger even more agony? What was it, and how did she cope? Let us find out. A second cancer kept in total silence. The most devastating part of the journey Kylie Minogue has been on may not be the physical illnesses themselves, but the fact that one was endured in complete silence away from the world. In 2021, 16 years after first beating cancer, she received another diagnosis that once again upended her world. This time she made a starkly different choice. Instead of announcing it or letting the world watch, she chose to suffer through it in private without any headlines, official statements, or public explanations. Life on the outside looked completely normal, while inside she was fighting one of her most brutal personal battles, entirely alone. She later shared that the reason for this silence was not secrecy for its own sake, but pure emotional survival. She described herself at the time as feeling like a total shell of a person, way too drained and fragile to deal with public scrutiny while trying to heal. Explaining her situation to the world felt impossible, since just getting through the day was a struggle. So she chose privacy as a shield, allowing herself to be human away from everyone's expectations. Even as she quietly underwent treatment and recovery, the world around her kept on spinning. Her career continued to climb, and later hits like the global smash Padam Padam proved her return to strength and visibility. Yet behind that success was a deeper truth she kept to herself. Cancer, in her own words, was never just a temporary chapter or a minor blip in her life. It remained a constant presence, changing how she viewed her body, her time, and her future. Now that she is speaking more openly, her choice is not about reopening old wounds, but about truth. She wants people to understand that an illness does not always end the moment treatment concludes. Healing is often a long, quiet, and unseen process. Her story becomes less about pop stardom and more about surviving out of the limelight, showing that strength isn't just about being seen. Sometimes it is carried in private and endured with immense courage. Her choice to finally talk about this chapter isn't an attempt to relive the pain, but to offer honesty to others facing similar secret battles. She understands that many people go through health scares quietly without any support, and she truly hopes her voice makes those experiences feel a little less lonely. She turns her personal struggle into awareness, compassion, and grit, showing that surviving can also bring a sense of meaning to others. In this way, she proves that the healing process continues quietly long after the doctors are finished. Kylie had a second battle with cancer years after she had already overcome the first one. But what lessons can we take from how she faced these hurdles? Is her story just about resilience, or does it offer something even deeper? Now let us explore a life defined by survival and quiet strength behind a Keiko'i, global icon. Now at 57, the Kylie Minogue story is no longer defined just by fame, music, and stage lights. It is defined by everything she lived through behind the scenes. Past the stage lights and global, success lies a life marked by moments the public rarely saw in full. There were two cancer battles, one spoken about openly and another carried in silence, each changing her in completely different ways. She also lived through a painful motherhood journey filled with hope waiting and deep heartbreak when things simply did not go as planned. And before all of that, there was a first love that brought joy, but later became her first real experience of grieving a significant loss. Over the years, even her music began to carry pieces of these experiences, shaped by pain and quiet strength. Her songs became more than just entertainment. They became small, intimate windows into emotions she rarely spoke about directly. Yet despite everything she went through, her story was never one of collapse or defeat. Instead, it became a story of endurance where survival meant pushing forward even when life felt incredibly heavy and uncertain. And what makes her journey feel so heartbreaking is not only what happened to her, but how much of it she carried entirely alone. She kept performing, smiling, and making music while dealing with private battles the world knew nothing about. Even as millions danced to her tracks, she was often fighting silent internal struggles, far away from the spotlight. That contrast between public joy and private pain is what makes her story feel so deeply human. It is a reminder that fame does not protect anyone from suffering. And success certainly does not erase your personal struggles. Now at 57, she looks back not just as a performer, but as a woman who has learned to survive repeated storms. Her perspective today is shaped by gratitude, grit, and an honest understanding of just how fragile our lives can be. She speaks now not to relive the pain, but to give it purpose and help others feel less alone. In doing so, she turns personal hardship into a shared message of hope and quiet strength for so many. And perhaps the most powerful part of her journey is not the fame, but the silence she had to carry. A silence filled with recovery, uncertainty, loss, and immense private strength. Something the world is only just starting to truly grasp. Yet she keeps pushing ahead, defined not just by tragedy, but by her grit to persist. Despite it all, her life serves as a stark reminder that even those who shine the brightest often hide the darkest stories. Through it all, Kylie Minogue remains a total icon of resilience forged, not just by her massive success, but by sheer survival. A journey that still motivates millions, proving healing is rarely simple and real. Strength grows quietly through pain. With every single step forward, she keeps choosing life, love, and hope all over again. So what is your take on Kylie Minogue and her private tragedy? Did keeping those struggles hidden help her cope better, do you think? We want to hear your thoughts down below. And hey, make sure to like and subscribe to us.